Tommy Stokke here with Jack Magruder once again in Nashville, Tennessee at the baseball winter meetings. The first day, awfully quiet. We saw Trevor Cahill sign with the Chicago Cubs. We saw one other little trade. In your experience, Jack, again, Jack's been here, I think this is his 10th year. In your experience, what does a slow day one usually say for the rest of the winter meetings?
Each of these has a life of its own, has a pace of its own. It's funny. Sometimes you come to these meetings and bang, 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 trades happen right away. Sometimes you need a domino to fall, and maybe we need Jason Hayward or Yoenis Cespedes to sign to get the position players rolling. I remember one time I came in here, and then sometimes nothing happens. One time I came here, the Diamondbacks had a deal set with the A's, Danny Herron, Carlos Gonzalez, that trade. They had every piece was in place the whole time we were here. A week later is when they finally announced the trade. So, you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when things are going to kickstart. Sometimes they never do. Let's hope something happens here, though.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen. Last night at about 1 a.m., it was reported that the Chicago Cubs and Atlanta Braves made a deal sending Javier Baez to Atlanta for Shelby Miller. Shelby Miller, probably the biggest name on the trade market. That's realistic to move. Jose Fernandez is getting some run, but who knows if they'll be able to move him. The Baez thing didn't end up happening. It was just reported a few minutes later that those reports were premature. I saw Joe Madden in the hallway not 5 minutes after that was reported. He said he hadn't heard anything, that he was going to go read about it. So you got to be careful of what you hear and what you report and what you listen to out here, huh?
And the funny thing is, the Shelby Miller is getting a lot of talk out here. The Diamondbacks are out on Shelby Miller. I don't know if the Diamondbacks were ever in on Shelby Miller. I know that the Atlanta has tried hard to move Shelby. They wanted A.J. Pollock. When you ask for the moon, the other team's going to be out. The other team's not going to trade you the moon for a player. So sometimes semantics are a little bit. You have to kind of read between the lines on some of these semantics out here.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of these big names in trades, young players, guys that you don't think would get traded. Like a lot of people didn't think a Shelby Miller would get traded. A lot of people don't think an A.J. Pollock will get traded. But as we talked with Dave Stewart yesterday, the Diamondbacks general manager, it's kind of a testament to the player when their names are brought up and stuff like this.
Oh, no question, because everybody wants that guy. I mean, everybody wants A.J. Pollock, and why wouldn't you? He's got 3 years of control, all-star center fielder. He plays Gold Glove defense. Talking to a scout the other day about the possibility of moving Pollock. One guy said stunned. One guy said he would be blown off his chair, and another guy said you can't trade him for Shelby Miller. He's much better than Shelby Miller. He's worth much more than Shelby Miller. So when you're Atlanta, you send out feelers. You try to find what people might be interested in. Maybe you can trick them a little bit, but the D-backs aren't falling for that.
Yeah, Miller coming off a big year last year. We'll see how much trade value he has and if they move him. The other domino that is going to fall, whether it be today or tomorrow, Ben Zobrist, the utility man, but he wants to zone in on one position. The Giants want him to play more left field. I think he wants to play more second base. He's in town today. He lives in Nashville. He'll be here today. The Giants are in. They've offered him 4 years. The Mets, according to Joel Sherman, have only offered him 3, but are willing to go to 4. And then you've got the Nationals as well. The Mets and Nationals make more sense from a proximity standpoint, living in Nashville. Yes, he's played on the West Coast, but that's an awful far way away from his home. I think it'll come down to the Mets and Nationals. It's going to take 4 years, but something's going to have to get done. Another guy that we hear, Kenta Maeda, he was put on officially, and teams can officially bid on him and go after him. The Diamondbacks were a team that were interested in him at one point. You talked to some guys yesterday that might make the Diamondbacks not a fit.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple things with Maeda. First of all, you got a $20 million posting fee that you give to the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. Everybody that wants to bid on Maeda sends him $20 million and then has the right to negotiate with Maeda. The winner of the negotiation obviously gets the player. Everybody else gets their $20 million back. But you've got the $20 million on one side, and then you've got the contract on the other side. My sources were telling me that Maeda wants $60 million. Now, whether that's over 3 years or 4, they were unclear. But that's a $60 million contract on top of a $20 million purchase fee. That seems a little bit out of the Diamondbacks' range last night. this year. Dave was telling us last night that they do have some wiggle room and they do have some flexibility. I think Mike Leake is still in play. I guess we'll see how that goes. Mike went to ASU. He loves the Scottsdale area. He might, if he considers a hometown discount, which there's no indication that he would, that would be a way to fit him into the deal. Otherwise, I think they're looking maybe, Dave said yesterday they may stand pat with their pitching staff, although we'll see. But yeah, the free agent market, without Leake, I don't know that they'll do anything. I think Maeda is a guy they don't want to touch. Scouts told me he's probably a 4 starter in a major league rotation, maybe a 3+, maybe a 4-. And they've, teams have those guys. You don't need to pay $80 million for a guy like that.
Yeah. You got a $20 million posting fee on you if people want to come talk to you?
$20,000 is good with me.
For FanRag Sports, check out today's Knuckleball.com, all the latest in the winter meetings. We'll be here all week.